Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode where we're talking to all of the guest contributors in the 4th edition of Energy to Thrive magazine. My name is Jennifer Powter. I am the founder and creator of the magazine, and I'm super happy to have Jenny Ferry with me today. Hello. Hi.
Hi.
So Jenny is an emerging leader in the field of conscious sexuality and the author of the forthcoming book, Soul Sex. Her website is an absolute amazing thing to find. We'll talk more about where you can learn about that in a moment here. But Jenny, you work out mostly in the Pacific Northwest, right? So doing workshops and teaching, and you definitely are. I love your reading, your writing. It's always amazing. And I've even had the privilege of experiencing a very high level, personal connection with the work that Jenny does. So I'm super excited to talk to you today. And thanks for being with me.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's just a delight to be here with you. I love you and I love what you're doing. So it's a real treasure to have this time together. And you're right, I'm based out of the Pacific Northwest of the U.S., but I have a loyal following in BC, as well as expanding my reach across North America, mostly in the Western U.S. right now, but this work is growing rapidly. And again, I also want to thank you for the honor of working with you personally. So you've had a real personal experience with this work, and I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Oh, trust me. Thank you. So right off the bat, I've been following you for quite some time before you and I actually connected. And I think the thing that grabbed me instantly was just the name, like just your site, Soul Sex. And it spoke to me on such on a deep level. Tell me how did that concept first come up for you, and tell me more about it.
Yeah, truly. Thank you. It was really it all started with my own personal journey. So there was never an intention here to create this work. I have a background in human development, over 20 years in the field. And I was working, I like to say I'm a recovering academic. That's one of the things that's informed how I work. So really came out of a very, I would say, soulful time for myself, where I was exploring my own personal relationship and had an awakening moment. I was in an 11-year long-term relationship where my sex was essentially shut down. And when I decided to exit that relationship, my sex woke up and it was hungry and it was looking for the buffet. So I wanted to feed it consciously and intentionally, and I didn't know where do you go in North America to learn how to do that. So it really took me on a journey to excavate my soul. And what I mean by that is really the underbelly of my sexuality and my intimate relating. Like, what were the stories that were informing how I was showing up, and how could I show up in a healthy and generative way? So I would say that was the catalyst right there. It was a lot of soul searching for me to find what was true for me, my true voice, and my true sexual expression.
Well, Jenny, I love that. And, I work as for you watching, and many of you know, I work with women sort of in the period of like 30 to 50-ish year old women. And I can't tell you how often I hear about just physical intimacy being completely shut down. And along with that, the emotional intimacy. And what one client said to me, she's like, we have part sex, but that's it. Like the parts all work, but I feel nothing. And, what I see in my work is a way that's a painful thing to experience. And so it creates this desire to numb out in other aspects of our life. And, I know for me, I've certainly gone through a very interesting journey around rediscovering my own sexuality and what I want, what I need, what it feels like to feel good and to be safe and to trust. How do you start working, or how do you even begin to start working and identifying and sharing this with your clients and with the people you speak, the workshops that you do?
Yes, thank you. Well, what I really think is lacking in North America is a safe and simple entry point into reopening and reawakening our sexuality. That was the number one thing that I saw. So as an educator, as a mom, as someone who just, loves humanity and wanted to give back in a way that was filled with integrity and compassion, I knew the place to start where I had received so much healing and support was in local yoga studios. So I work exclusively out of esteemed yoga studios that offer non-asana community enriching classes. So I think you want to start simply. Like if we're really going to talk about it, you want to start simply. I mean, right now, the drug companies are vying for the FDA's approval of the next female Viagra, right? So I get the magnitude of this issue. I also want to say, in referring to what you just shared, that food and sexuality are intricately entwined, right? We need food for survival. And one thing we're not taught at all in this culture is that we actually need sex and intimate interaction for survival as well. They provide us with nourishment and sustenance.
It is such a valid point. And, for literally, I have given my clients sex homework or intimacy homework, right? Whether it's the conversation with their partner that they need to have, or literally what I tell them to go and do, right? Because sometimes you just you're at such a loss for how to even bring that spark, or we get ashamed about the fact that, it's not as hot in our bedroom as we wish it was, or we want it to be. And there's little awareness of how to get it back.
Absolutely. So it's one of the great reasons I'm so thankful to be here with you today.
Me too. Well, me too. Because
these topics are so aligned, and it's true. You just want to start simply. So thank you for giving your clients homework on how to do that. And it's the same here. I believe that people need to come into a safe place in the community in a workshop to get the basic education around this issue. And then I love for them to go home and just start practicing, right? That's really where the change takes place. I want to see people have an experience that shifts their current perception of reality, that awakens them to something they may never have dreamed was possible for them in their intimate lives, in their relationships, in their sexuality. I feel like, we talk about this in academic circles that, we haven't even tapped the enormity of the brain's potential and capacity. And I feel that about ourselves as sexual beings. Mm-hmm. There's a huge amount of health and wellness and vitality that is available to us when we fully embody our sexuality in a healthy way, in a safe way, but also in a fun and playful way, right? It's not just about, right? I tend to find that there's a polarity in this field that I've noticed since I've been engaged with it in the last 5 years. And that it's either, very sex positive, which can get, flying trapeze. And of course, we have 50 Shades of Grey out in the movie theaters right now. Great. There are really sensational ways to engage, but I wouldn't encourage someone who's just re-entering their exploration around this. I would say, it's better to dip your toe in the pool and go in, slowly at the water's edge than to dive off the deep end.
And I think that first dip, so to speak, needs to be, even like what you're saying right now, is that sex is a normal and healthy and also necessary part of being human. And fulfilling and having, sexual desires and needs, it's okay to want you to have those to get met. And I know a lot of women that I work with have had kids, and then through the busyness of early childhood years, they tell me that they just feel sexually dead inside. They're checking hormones, they're checking this. They're like, I don't even want to have sex with my husband. Like, I have no interest. I just don't feel like I have any sex drive, and all of those different things. And I think that these conversations, and one of the interesting things about 50 Shades of Grey, whether you like the trilogy or you've seen the movie or not, is at least it's getting the conversation happening, right? There's more talk around it. And that's probably one of the most positive things that book has done for women and for men everywhere.
Yes, I agree with it opening the conversation. I haven't seen the movie, so I can't comment. I haven't read the book, so I can't comment there either. And I really appreciate when this conversation gets expanded in public discourse, right? When in our cultural circles. One of the things,
That's all
Oh, I
right.
was
I've got a thought, so remind me to come back to it. Go ahead.
okay. I just wanted to touch on what you said that I think is really important, right? There's a lot of moms and women who our lives are so full. Like, there's sort of a like, this is another thing on the list to
Yeah.
tackle. And I think what really I love about this work is that there's actually some very simple 15-minute fun practices that you can engage in order to start feeling that fulfillment and vitality again around your sexuality. It's not rocket science, and I love to say that, right?
Yeah. Well, and when this is why I like talking with you too, is,
Mm,
for so many women, as life gets busy, as hormones may or may not change, who knows, as body shape may or may not change.
mm,
There's so much shame and like the media and culture in terms of like what a woman should look like to be sexy or to be pretty or to be called beautiful. And, I think that we are both so on the same page that that's an inner story, right?
absolutely.
And so I know a lot of my clients have been holding back in intimacy because they, feel like they're too fat or feel too heavy or overweight and have some body shame going on. Do you have any? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that because I know it's a big
Mhm.
barrier for some people. There's embarrassment or even though their partner may still find them totally appealing and sexy and tell them that, they're the ones that are still feeling unable to go there or feel it or see it.
Yes, that's a really important point that you're bringing up, Jen. So thank you so much. I would say there's two things here that I'm
Mhm.
feeling. Like, one, yes, you always want to start with you,
Yeah.
right? However
Yeah.
you're feeling, because if you're carrying that shame, if you're carrying those messages, that's what you really want to look at. What's the story you're telling yourself? And if it's informed by culture or their internal voices that are disallowing you from engaging in your own sexuality, you definitely want to start there, right? That's an educational, personal development issue. But I
Yeah.
would say even deeper than that, what I've come across, and I want to be really clear about this, the work is not therapeutic, it's educational in nature. However, what I've encountered, there's a lot of people, men and women, who've experienced some sort of pain in their sexual lives,
Yeah.
whether it's full on trauma or some other sorts of painful ways of engaging,
Jenny,
right?
can
Through
that pain
broken
be,
relation.
yeah, I was gonna say rejection. Can that pain be
Hmm.
rejection?
Absolutely. So I really encourage people
Mhm.
to seek professional support if they haven't done the healing work in order to engage in their sexuality, right? That's a really important step.
It is important. And I think the other thing that's we've got such a good venue here to talk about it is that healing isn't a one time isolated event. So, new partners, new life changes, circumstances, you may have to heal from something over and over and over again as you journey through life. And I know that that's sort of a frustration for some of my clients. They're like, well, I thought I dealt with that, or, oh, I can't believe this is coming up again. Clearly that therapy didn't work. And it's sort of like, well, no, it did then. You're now a different person in different circumstances. You need to heal again.
And
Yeah.
I like to think of our journey as a treasure hunt, right? So I think it's all about in the perspective and the attitude we have towards that, right? I can hear that, oh, here I have to deal with this again. Well, you're fortunate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's a first world problem.
Well, and yeah, exactly. We've got some first world problems that we're lucky to have. But you said you were talking a little bit earlier about just sort of the attitude around sex, sexuality, and how it can be so serious sometimes, right? Like,
Yes.
whether it's movie induced or Hollywood induced or, clearly like the porn industry is at an all time high right now in terms of money that's being put into it and viewership. And so
Mhm.
we know that there's some sort of like something going on here in our sexual energy, like energetic world. What do you say for women who are like who might be intrigued by this conversation and be like, oh my god, yeah, like I haven't had sex in 6 months, whether they're single or married or in a relationship. Where do they start if they're like, what? This is a need of mine, like really, like I want it, but what do I do to start
Yes.
like waking up again?
Yes, thank you for asking that. And I want to scroll back to just append a little bit of what I
Yeah,
just said,
sure.
and then I will absolutely answer this. First of all, when I said it's a first world problem, I don't want to sound insensitive to anyone because
No.
truly the work that I hold is with an enormous amount of compassion. I say it in that it just takes your conscious effort and empowered choice, your voice and your choice to show up for yourself, right? To move out of a victim mentality into a place of no, I'm the queen of my being,
Yeah.
right? And so therefore, um, it's exercising my voice and choice in order to continue on the journey in a healing, healthy, and empowered way. So I think that's really important for me to state, and it really is linked to this question you're asking because, sure, right? If you haven't had sex in your relationship or you're single and you haven't had sex in quite a while, where do you start? I think the best place to start is with yourself, right?
Literally, right? Yes.
Exactly. Explore your own body. Get familiar with re-exploring yourself and seeing what touch feels like to you. Right. Just start with your arm. I'm just gently stroke your arm or other parts of your body. Moving to your genitals so
Mm-hmm.
that self pleasuring becomes a beautiful way to keep your sexuality alive and vital and um, really flowing in your life. And that's I because I do this work, people think I have some sort of outrageous sex life, and at times my sex life is full and vibrant, and um, I I engage in just really beautiful ways. And there's other times where just like everyone else, there's periods of dormancy or quietness. And the way that I feed my sexuality is by my own empowerment to keep that part of my being alive. One thing I will say about this is that you mentioned pornography, and of course, it's a multi billion
Yeah.
dollar enterprise, um, and I really would encourage your viewers to look for ways to keep their sexuality alive that are really healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of think of pornography like going through the drive-through at McDonald's,
Yeah.
right? And I'm going to add a little bit more to that. So because most of your viewers will be like, okay, yeah, I don't watch porn that much, but they're likely very attached to their vibrator. And what I'd love to say about that is try something different, right? Try to put the vibrator away for a week or two and self-pleasuring just yourself with your own personal lubrication and your own two fingers, right?
And your mind, right? I think
Yes,
that
yes.
the mind is one of the most powerful organs when it comes to sex and the thoughts that you choose to think. And certainly we know, when you're with somebody, talking can enhance an experience, but what you're thinking when you're by yourself can also very much influence, you know, that
It,
experience as well.
it's huge, Jen. So what you're
Yeah.
saying is what I call developing your erotic imagination. So
Yeah.
every time I watch porn, it's actually draining my erotic imagination versus when I engage and put my attention on how I'm creating and imagining things to be that pleasure me, then I'm developing my erotic imagination. So, absolutely, I would encourage anyone to focus on the images and the creativity and the things that are intriguing to them.
Well, and it's just so much fun, right? So if you've been
Yes.
sexually dormant for quite some time or whatever that period might be for you, I think that if you're, so to anybody watching, if you've been in that space or you are in that space, what I think I want you to know is that coming through the other side, it's fun. It's a very light, it's an energetically great experience. And you talked about creating flow. And I remember just being an entrepreneur, Jenny, female entrepreneur like you. Somebody a few years ago said to me, "Oh, you got to make sure that sex is a regular part of your life because that keeps your business sharp." And I was like, say what? Yeah, I didn't really understand. Now I totally get it.
Yes.
There's something about that, whether it's confidence and just, that it's just another form of expression, and
Hmm.
can do a lot, both mentally, physically, emotionally. And what the part that you bring in is that spiritual connection, which I just think is amazing. There's something about having part sex and having soul sex, which is a night and day, night and day experience.
That's true. And so I like to think of the spirit as the above and the soul as the below, and that our sort of great privilege here as human beings on the planet is to integrate those through our hearts, right?
Yeah.
So I think of it as having sexual engagement that's not only genitally based, but heart based, right? It invites all of me that's been integrated into my being into this particular relationship. So I really appreciate your highlighting that. Yes. It's about you showing up wholly, WHOLELY, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Or
Uh,
however that's spelled.
Jenny, I could talk about this forever with you, because you've just got such a great perspective and lens on it, and clearly make it such a comfortable experience to talk about sex. And I was just talking to somebody else saying it's funny that we can get naked and do this with someone and yet often have so many challenges about actually talking about it. Whether it's giving feedback about what you like or don't like or what you want more of, or even just talking in general, which many couples struggle with. So
Yeah.
I will be one of the first people to sign up and get your book, and I can't wait for you to autograph it for me whenever I get the chance to meet you in person. But can you please share where our viewers can learn and find out more about you?
Yes, I had something very special here with me today to share.
Oh, yay.
Let me look for it.
Okay.
Well, if I can't find it. Oh, here it is. I put it so close. It was right tucked in here. So in starting that conversation, I've just created a new product called the Soul Sex Mini Deck.
Oh, cool.
So they're tiny little cards. There's 11 of them, and
Yeah.
you can carry them with you in your purse, in your pocket, to start that conversation. So I would love for folks to stop by and before the book's out, or if they're unable to attend a workshop with me, come and meet me at jennyferry.com/shop and engage in that way.
And if you haven't had a chance yet to download the Energy to Thrive magazine, you're going to want to make sure you do so. Jenny's article is in it, and it's wonderful as well. There's live links to all of her different social media channels or sites on there, so it'll be easy for you to find. Jenny, thanks so much for being here today. It's wonderful to see you, and just to have a chance to talk more about the work that you do. It's very profound, and I know impacts women and men. That's the other thing, impacts that you work with men as well, right? So it's women and men.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everywhere. So thanks for watching. Again, you can click below to get access to the magazine, Energy to Thrive, the spring edition. And we'll be back again with another interviewee for Energy to Thrive soon. See you then.